In today's video, we're doing all new Dollar Tree Christmas DIYs. Now, is the gingerbread trend gonna be back this year? I think it is. I feel like everybody is still loving the gingerbread. I know I like it. One of the items I found at Dollar Tree was this white crock. It was in the Dollar Tree Plus section and it was $5. I'm gonna be using it for this next DIY. Now, to create the perfect gingerbread color, I found this new spray paint, and this is the color that I have been waiting for. You can pick it up at Home Depot. It's by the brand Behr, and it's called New Terracotta. I have been looking for a spray paint that is the perfect terracotta color, and I think this is it. I'll also link it for you down below, but I'm gonna be using this spray paint. I'm gonna do a coat on the bottom. I'll flip it over and do a coat on the top. This spray paint looks like I painted it. It's so good. I hope you guys can find it. After the spray paint is completely dry, I wanted to try to recreate this crock I saw on Pottery Barn's website. Now, if you remember last year, whenever I was trying to recreate the look of gingerbread, I would use white puff paint that you can get at most craft stores. So I'm gonna be doing that same technique with my crock because I feel like it gives you that nice white raised look and it has really concentrated color. Now with gingerbread, you just want to try to create a pattern, and if you're nervous that you don't know if you can make a certain pattern, try to go with something really easy. That's what I do. So I started by creating swoops along the bottom, and then I'm just going to keep adding in elements. It doesn't have to be hard. You can add in dots. Another thing I like to do is add in hearts. Those are pretty easy to create, and then just adding in additional lines. Keep looking at it. You can really make it look fancy by just adding dots but putting them in a triangle. I know it sounds simple, but this doesn't have to be really elaborate. Keep adding elements until you're happy with it. Let it dry overnight, and then you can add in your favorite utensils. For this DIY, you're gonna need clear ornaments. I'm gonna be using smaller ornaments, and when I'm doing this technique, I like to do an extra just in case I mess up. So I'm gonna actually be doing 4, but I probably only need 3. First, we're gonna fill our ornaments with the color we want them to be inside. You can use any color. I'm gonna be using a blue, and I went with a Dollar Tree paint pour paint. The reason I did that was because this paint is a little bit more runny. It's gonna do a great job of coating the inside of your ornament. So place the paint inside, move it around so that it's completely covered. Then you're going to figure out a way to place it upside down and let it dry. Now, if for some reason too much of the paint comes out, you can always do an additional coat, because I will say a lot of this paint will run out. Now you want to let this dry, and then we're going to move on to the next step. We're going to be adding a marble element to the outside. Now you guys have seen me do this DIY before on several different projects, but I've never done it on ornaments. So I'm going to take a tub of water, any tub will work, and you can use any spray paint you like, any color. I went with a gold because I wanted it to be more Christmas colors, and I'm going to do a couple of sprays on the top of the water. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your ornament and dip it into the water. Whatever the spray paint looks like on the water is going to be what transfers to your ornament. So if you want it to be thinner or a line, just go with that. Now, once you pull your ornament out of the water, you may want to add additional paint. Just keep dipping it into the water till you're happy with it. And you're going to repeat these steps, clearing your water and spraying more of the spray paint for each of your ornaments. Now for the top pieces of these ornaments, I used a little bit of a copper rub and buff, and I'll place that on with a foam brush. Once your ornaments are completely dry, you can put the tops onto these ornaments. Now, after I put the tops on, I realized that the top pieces didn't really match my marble, so I did go in with another rub and buff color that I felt like matched a little bit better. Now, how are we going to hang these ornaments? Well, I thought it would be really cool to create a box structure. I love to scroll high-end sites and see how I can recreate items for less. When I was on Anthropologie's site, I saw this box and I thought, this is so cool. I love the way they're displaying the ornaments. I figured let's try to recreate it with Dollar Tree items. So you're gonna need 3 of the Dollar Tree wood boxes. I'm gonna start by gluing these together with a combination of E6000 and hot glue. You want to put all of your boxes together and make sure that they stand up straight. Next, I'm going to stain this piece with a medium tone stain. You can use any color you like. You could also paint this if you wanted. So I'm gonna brush on the stain with a foam brush and I'm gonna remove off the excess with a paper towel. Now I did buy some additional wood pieces off of Amazon. I will link them for you down below. I'm gonna be using 8 of these wood applique pieces, so I need to stain these the same color as the box. So I'll do it the same way, put it on with a foam brush and wipe it off with a paper towel. Now, after I stain anything, before I glue it together, I like to let it sit and dry completely. Once it's dry, you can come back and I'm gonna be using E6000 in the corners and then I'll just place the applique on top. Let this dry until the E6000 is completely set. Now with my ornaments, I did want to hang these from this wood box. So to do that, I just put on a little bit of twine through the top of the ornament. I'm gonna tie them so I only have about 1 inch from the knot to the top of the ornament. And I'm gonna repeat this for the other 2 ornaments. I'll cut off the excess string. I'll place some hot glue on the top of the knot and place it in the very center of the box. And I'll repeat these steps for the other 2 ornaments. Now I know it's not an exact dupe, but I think it looks gorgeous, especially sitting out with all of my blue decor. Let's try to create some bells. At Dollar Tree, you're going to need to pick up some of their metal bowls. They come in 3 different sizes, so I went ahead and got 2 of each of the sizes. You're also going to need to pick up some shower rings. Now, to start this project, on 3 of my bowls, I added E6000 and hot glue. And then I'm gonna place the matching bowl on top until it dries. I'm also going to be adding on my shower rings. Now, you could try to measure these out, but I have found that if I just snap them in half, they usually just break down the middle. So I'm gonna take 3 of the shower rings and just snap them in half. And then I'll add them to the top of the bowls with some hot glue. I wanted to spray paint these before I moved on with this project. I'm gonna be using a metallic gold spray paint to spray paint both sides of the metal bowls. I did have one of the shower rings that popped off, no big deal. I'm just gonna spray paint that and I'll glue it on later. Now the next step here is to make these look more like antique bells. I think the best way to do that is to add rub and buff. So I got out 3 different rub and buff colors that I had. Wasn't really sure what I was gonna go with, but using my foam brush, I started by applying one of the colors to the bells. Now, when you're doing this, don't feel like you have to completely cover it. Honestly, you want that existing gold to show through. So just add a little bit of that rub and buff color. I did this with all 3 of the colors, kind of mixing and matching. If I felt like I needed more rub and buff, I would add that on. From here, you want to let this completely dry. The next step, we needed to add some black to the bottom to create the look of bells. So I just used some black acrylic paint. I think the easiest way to do this is just to hold your bowl and you're gonna use a paintbrush, draw a circle, and then you're gonna draw a straight line down. You're gonna repeat this and make 4 on each of the bells. And I'll do this to all the bells. And here's how these turned out. I think they look so adorable, perfect for the holidays. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. Comment the word of the day, which is ornament. My new favorite holiday hack that I recently found are these pop-up trees. You can set up your tree in just seconds. These pre-decorated trees have a stand and they go together really quickly. The trees are pre-decorated with ornaments and ribbon. If you're wanting an easy tree to set up at home or maybe at your office, or if you're traveling over the holidays, you could bring this because it's really compact and it's so easy to put up. I have one in red and gold. I'd love to know which one you like better. But there's also so many different color options available. I'll link it for you down below. Let's make a holiday wall art. So you're going to need this frame from Dollar Tree, or really any Dollar Tree frame. I love that they're making light wood frames now. You're also going to need some of their peel and stick wallpaper. I went with this lighter wood. So I'm going to start by taking the contents out of the frame. And I'm gonna trace around the wood wallpaper so it's directly in the middle, because I wanted each of those lines to go down exactly the same distance on both sides. So once I trace around the paper, I'm going to cut it out. And I don't need to stick the peel and stick wallpaper. I'm just gonna put it back into the frame. I did take out that front piece because I didn't need that. Next, you're going to need one of these Dollar Tree snowflakes. Now, when I placed the snowflake down, it was a little too big for my frame. So to fix this, I just cut the end pieces off of 4 of my corners. I just used my wire cutters and they broke off pretty easily. Now, I did have one of the pieces break off, but it's okay because I'm gonna be hot gluing it down to my frame. Next, I used hot glue to put the snowflake in the center of my frame. My inspo for this project was this Pottery Barn wall art. So to recreate this, I'm gonna be using my macrame cord. So I cut off a long enough piece and I'm gonna be starting at the end of a snowflake. I found the middle of my macrame cord and I folded it in half. Then I put a little bit of hot glue on the end piece and pressed down the macrame so that I had 2 cord pieces on either side. Now, as I'm doing this, I want my macrame cord to follow and I don't wanna have to cut any pieces. So I'm trying to keep it where I can fold everything together. So I did the same by folding up a piece and hot gluing it down on both sides of the snowflake. Then I connected them together, hot glued and pressed down the macrame, and I repeated this until I got to the center of my snowflake. I left the excess there. I continued on with this process on each of the snowflake stems, starting at the top, folding the macrame in half, hot gluing it down until I reach the base of the snowflake. Next, I'm going to cut off the ends of my macrame. So use your sharpest pair of scissors because you don't want that macrame to fray. I started doing with the wrong pair, then I had to switch. So you're going to cut off the ends of the macrame. Now to cover the center, I'm gonna start by creating a circle and then I'm gonna hot glue that in the middle. And then I'm just going to loop it around, hot gluing it in place until I cover all of the outside macrame pieces. I'll cut it off and hot glue it in place. That's all there is to this wall art. Let me know what you think of this neutral wall art piece. Have you tried ornament anchors? It's a way that you can keep your ornaments safe and secure on your tree. This will prevent small kids or pets from knocking off your ornaments, and these will keep them securely in place. Place this through your ornament. Then you're going to pull this over and secure it in place. Then you're going to place it onto your branch. This ornament is not going anywhere. Have you considered decorating your bathroom for the holidays? Let me show you a quick hack. You're gonna need 2 things, ornaments and the metal hangers for your ornaments. You can place these on your shower ring. I'm gonna be using these new ornaments that I just picked up at Dollar Tree. I feel like they're very fancy, very high end, and using a hook, I'll connect them to my shower rings. Let me know, would you try this at your house? When I was shopping at the thrift store, I found this house that is the exact same house that they have on Anthropologie's website, but I got it for the thrifted price. These are great to set out for the holidays. All you need to do is add some lights. These are some fairy lights. I'll place those inside and they look so pretty illuminated at night. Do you guys remember when I bought these pears at Dollar Tree? I painted them more of like a brown color. I also got a Dollar Tree clear bowl and I spray painted it white. And these look really great sitting out, but I wanted to dress them up for Christmas. So I'm doing an updated DIY on this previous DIY project. So with my pears, I'm gonna be using the color grays, which is a very popular color that people use on their walls. And using a brush, I'm just going to paint the bottom of my pears and the sides. Now, before this has a chance to dry, I wanted to add on some glitter. In that glitter pack, there was some silver glitter in there. Just using my hands, I took some of the silver glitter and put it all over the paint. And since it was wet paint, I knew it would stick on there. I covered all of the pears with this silver glitter. I did let them sit and dry overnight. The next day, I wanted to style them back into the white bowl, so I placed them in there, and then I grabbed some of my Dollar Tree Christmas greenery. The first one I tried was this greenery that had these little white berries on them. I pulled them off of the stem and placed them into the bowl, but I felt like it really competed with my pears. It was just too much. So I decided to take that greenery out. I used another Dollar Tree greenery that was a lot more subtle. I just cut off the stems and placed that around the edge. I liked it so much better, but I think these pears are ready for the holidays. One of my favorite and easiest crafts that I like to do around the holidays is to make cone trees. You guys have seen me put together cone trees in years past. This year we're gonna do it a little bit different. So I wanted to make 2 cone trees, but I only had 1 piece of poster board. I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to do it, but I made it work. I find the easiest way to make a cone tree is to simply start twisting it until you get the shape you want. It's really not hard to do. You just kind of start twisting up that paper. Now the difference with your cone is going to be how big your base is. So if you want a tighter base, you're just going to need to make it a little bit more tighter. If you want it to be wider at the bottom, just let out a little bit of the paper. Once you're happy with the way it looks, and at the top, you want that connected. So make it as small as possible at the top. You don't want an opening. Add a little bit of hot glue, hold that in place. Then cut off the excess. Hot glue the edge and hold that in place. I'm gonna wait to cut off the bottom until I make my second tree. I did know that I wanted my second tree to be a little bit bigger, so I just kept that in mind. And I first rolled it up and I realized that my base was a little too big compared to the tree that I just made. So no big deal, just re-roll it until it's tighter. Again, add that hot glue in, cut off the excess, and then hot glue it one more time, wrap it up. From here, you can cut your bases. You just want to try to cut a straight line if possible. And then you'll know whenever you set it up, if it wobbles around, just keep cutting until it stands up straight. Now, what are we gonna do with these trees? I wanted to add kind of the look of like a winter kind of white speckled look. You could really achieve this with a lot of products. I had some spackling in my craft room, so I decided just to use that. You wanna put on gloves and then you're just going to put the spackling on your entire tree. Really the hardest part is just covering the entire tree. Once your tree is completely covered, then you can create textures. You can scrunch to create a texture, but you just want it to look like snow has just fallen on these cones. Repeat that with both of your trees. You could paint this, but by the time it dried, I really liked the way it looked. It was matte and looked really realistic. So I kept it without painting it, and here's how they turned out. Let me know down in the comments which of these DIYs was your favorite. I love knowing your opinion. And make sure you subscribe because I want to see you back here, and I'll see you in our next one. Bye.